the rule of thirds is the best advice I ever got.
Wow.
I think
Okay.
it's the best advice. And it was from my Olympic coach. And he basically, when I was struggling in a workout before the Olympics, and he had me take off my watch. And that's a thing when your coach is like, take off your watch and keep going. Because he's basically saying, put in the effort without worrying about the result. And he said it was the rule of thirds. And he said that the rule of thirds means that when you're chasing a dream or doing anything hard, you're supposed to feel good a third of the time, okay a third of the time, and crappy a third of the time.
Wow.
And that means you are pushing and doing something in a balance that represents chasing a dream.
You're doing it right.
Yes.
If you're feeling crappy a third of the time.
Yes.
That's a great lesson for young people to hear.
Yeah.
Like, you feel crappy a third of the time about what you're doing and how you're pursuing it and how it's working out. Perfect. Chef's kiss.
Right. Because that's where the growth happens, right? That's where you're pushing and you're forcing your cells to adapt, right? They're being challenged in that third. But you have to keep it in balance, because you don't want to feel, just like you don't want to feel too good too much of the time, you also don't want to feel too bad too much of the time.
But doesn't social media often lead us to feel like we're supposed to be at maximum bliss level happiness like all the time, or like 80 or 90% of the time?
Yeah, social media makes it seem like we're supposed to feel good most of the time, or that if you have this crappy time or day, that it is kind of a break from the achieving side of you, that it's like, it's okay to not feel okay all the time, as if you're taking a break, not as if it's a part of the dream chase. Do you know what I'm saying? It's almost like when you don't feel good, it's almost like they're saying, give yourself a break, instead of show up for the crappy third and put in the effort that day, because you're going to get so much out of it. Right? I feel that there's a lot of dialogue saying on the days you don't feel great, and there are days when you should just go home, not just take the watch off and go home, but there are days to take your watch off and do the workout anyway and give 90% of crap. Right?
Yeah.
So I think social media is like, yeah, it's creating a either feel all good all the time, or like put yourself on the bench when you don't feel good.
Yeah, Netflix and chill when you're not feeling good, or go into like self-care. And there's a certain amount of self-care is super valuable, but you can also participate actively in the stuff of life when you're not feeling it and you feel crappy and down, and you can learn by pushing through.
Yeah. And you have to understand the difference between feeling crappy and fatigue. Like, fatigue is deeper. That's when you go into your deeper stores, right? So there's a difference between having a rough day and being fatigued. And one is a sustainable part of chasing a dream, and the other represents burnout.
Another thing that you've spoken about in your work is befriending pain. And you talked earlier about how you kind of you have a super high pain threshold. But can you talk about this too? Because I imagine that would be really relevant for mental health in young people is how do you befriend pain? Because contemporary society says, oh, you feel pain, stop.
Right.
You know, and don't feel any pain.
Well, you have to know the difference between good pain and bad pain.
Okay.
Right? So good pain is the pain of doing the last rep of your workout when you're not injured, but you're tired, right? Bad pain would be you have an injury and you're pushing through. That's bad pain. And you could imagine what that means in an emotional circumstance, not a physical one. I think also befriending pain is that visualization that you and I talked about earlier, where if you like come to expect that challenge to come, whatever it is for you, then when it comes, you can greet it like an expected guest at your birthday party, not like an intruder. So most of the things we're doing, athletic and otherwise, are going to have controversy that we can maybe visualize ahead of time. And when we do, it's just another guest at the party, kind of.
It's like Simon and Garfunkel, Hello Darkness, My Old Friend.
Yeah.
But I think that's great, because I know with my anxiety and even with depression, I I realize now that I utilized that and I didn't even know what I was doing, which is like, oh, there it is. You know, like I'll wake up in the morning just like, oh no, this isn't going to work out. And false evidence appearing real. Like, and I didn't do this. And I'm so stressed and I'm never going to get it all done. And then I'm able to, because I've done the work, I'm able to kind of go, oh, there you are. Hi, Mr. Anxiety. Like, welcome to the party. Welcome to the birthday party. There you are. You're not necessarily real. I'm not going to be a victim to you, but I acknowledge you and welcome you, and I can learn from you, and you know, I can give you a big hug, and we'll go through this together, as opposed to like, oh no, anxiety, or oh no, anxiety, and I let it overwhelm me.
Yeah, it's like anxiety is like a dog or something, where like that you're in charge of the dog, like you're the dog's owner. Like you're gonna take the dog on a walk, even if it's having a freak out that day, you know. I have a dog. And I feel like she sometimes barks for a reason and sometimes she barks for no reason. And she's watching me though, right? Like the anxiety is ultimately looking at us to take charge, unless we think that it's in charge, which it's not.
Hey, did you like that video? Why don't you click on this one? Or maybe watch this one? Or click over here.